Hello and welcome to French Philosophers React, a philosophical take on the news headlines for today, August 31st, 2024. This is an AI-generated podcast and can make mistakes. Use it for generating possible ideas, but don't rely on it as an authoritative guide to the news or to the details of French philosophy. In the news today, UK MPs are being urged to stop accepting freebies from tobacco, alcohol, and junk food firms due to their products' harm to public health. Over 100 health groups have challenged politicians to reject gifts and hospitality from unhealthy product industries, which use tactics like downplaying harm, legal threats, and distorting evidence to influence policies. The groups claim that accepting such gifts can lead to conflicts of interest and compromise impartiality in decision-making. They argue that while the value may seem small, businesses spend money because it will benefit them financially, and it can give the appearance of a conflict for MPs amending legislation affecting these industries. So what might French philosophers have to say about this news item? The story of UK MPs being urged to stop accepting freebies from tobacco, alcohol, and junk food firms raises fundamental questions about the nature of power, influence, and corruption in modern politics. My central thesis is that this issue can be understood through the lens of Jean Baudrillard's concept of simulacra, where the symbolic order of politics becomes increasingly divorced from reality, leading to a situation where appearances are more important than substance. In Baudrillard's work, particularly in his book Simulacres et Simulation, 1981, he argues that our contemporary world is characterized by the proliferation of simulated realities that masquerade as genuine ones. These simulacra, such as advertisements, media reports, and even parliamentary proceedings, become more real to us than the underlying reality they claim to represent. In this context, the freebies offered by tobacco, alcohol, and junk food firms can be seen as a prime example of how these industries use their influence to create a simulacrum of public interest that serves their own economic interests. The fact that over 100 health groups have challenged politicians to reject gifts and hospitality from unhealthy product industries suggests that there is a growing awareness among the public that these industries are manipulating the symbolic order of politics to further their own agenda. The use of tactics like downplaying harm, legal threats, and distorting evidence to influence policies, as highlighted in the story, only serves to reinforce Baudrillard's notion that the simulacrum has become more real than reality itself. Moreover, the fact that businesses spend money on gifts because it will benefit them financially speaks directly to the heart of Baudrillard's concept of symbolic exchange. In his book America, 1986, Baudrillard argues that our society is characterized by a vast system of symbolic exchanges, where commodities and services are traded not just for their use value, but also for their exchange value. The gifts offered by tobacco, alcohol, and junk food firms can be seen as a form of symbolic exchange, where the industries trade money and influence for access to politicians and policymakers. This symbolic exchange is further complicated by the fact that the value of these gifts may seem small, but it is precisely this lack of transparency that allows businesses to wield their influence discreetly. As Baudrillard would argue, the simulacrum of public interest created by these industries becomes more real than the underlying reality of their own interests. This situation creates a kind of hyper-reality, a term coined by Baudrillard in his work, where appearances are more important than substance. The implications of this argument are far-reaching and have significant consequences for our understanding of modern politics. If we accept that the symbolic order of politics has become increasingly divorced from reality, then it follows that policy-making itself becomes a form of simulacrum. The decisions made by politicians and policymakers are no longer guided by a genuine concern for the public good, but rather by their own interests and the influence of powerful industries. In this context, the story takes on a more sinister tone, where the real issue is not just about tobacco, alcohol, and junk food firms influencing politics, but also about how these industries have managed to create a situation where they can do so with relative impunity. The fact that the Food and Drink Federation and alcohol trade body, the Portman Group, both declined to comment suggests that there may be more at stake here than meets the eye. Ultimately, this argument highlights the need for greater transparency and accountability in politics. As Baudrillard would argue, it is only through a critical examination of the symbolic order itself that we can begin to challenge the power dynamics that have created this situation in the first place. The story of UK MPs being urged to stop accepting freebies from tobacco, alcohol, and junk food firms serves as a stark reminder of how easily the simulacrum can become more real than reality itself, and how crucial it is for us to resist this trend if we are to have any hope of creating a genuinely democratic society. Thank you for listening to today's episode of French Philosophers React. Be sure to come back tomorrow for more reflective takes on the day's news.